Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Decryption and I hope you are well. So this one's going to be a little bit different to normal. It's not really specifically going to be a tutorial unless you've been following this series from the very start. And you've kind of watched all the videos. If you do, shout out to you. Comment below. This is going to be more of a discussion whilst I do work on it. Because I think it's going to be a good one for us to all talk about and open a discussion on. So in today's video, I'm going to clean up my NPCs. I've got two types of NPCs, one using ALS and one not, and they've all got different variables, different stats. A lot of them are duplicated for guards who just randomly walk around, and it needs to be cleaned up. So we're going to do this whilst discussing perfection and why you should just jump into games design, make a mistake like I've done, messing all this up and not keeping it clean from the start, and we'll go from there. So let's get started. What I'm really going to do with all my NPCs is a lot of them have the same stat. Like the running NPCs that do running races have a movement stats, so we can say how fast they're going to walk. Nobody else has that. Some NPCs have names, other NPCs don't. It's really just a mess of NPCs that I've made as and when I needed them. Like this guy's a vendor and he's got dialogue. So is that guy. But they're two different NPCs. He uses ALS, he doesn't. I really need to mix and match it. And whilst we're here, we can add all the new state trees together. Because if you followed my series, we've got a bunch of state trees because Unreal didn't let you change state trees. So we had to have a separate AI controller for each one. Which is great. And then these guys have got state trees to follow that guy and he randomly walks around. But what if we want him to attack us because we do a crime? Well, we couldn't do it before, and we can't really change his AI controller very easily. So now we can, and we can do cool stuff like that. Whilst we're not going to go into the whole attacking, this one is just about cleanup. And then we're also going to discuss why this is okay. This is completely okay that I've done this. And I'm about to change it, which, could invalidate the fact that I'm saying it's okay. But the reason I'm saying it's okay is I've got a game. Yeah, it's not really much of a game at the moment, but the fact is I do indeed have a game. You can run around, you can talk to people, you can do quests, you can explore the vast land that's mostly hidden, and the new faction that very well might be coming here, maybe, somewhere in here. I need to figure it out, which is going to be really cool. But it's a nice optimization for us to start now. So I've basically gone through and made a grand list of all my variables, all the functions I'm going to need, well, the two functions I need to use it, and all the ones that are going to stay on the NPCs. If you've never seen this type of formatting before, it's called Markdown. Use hashes for headers, double hashes for secondary headers, triple hashes for third headers, dashes for lists. That's pretty much it. It's dead simple. And you see, I've messed it up down here, but that's completely okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build one NPC data asset, which is going to define an NPC, a specific NPC, like a named NPC if you wish. And then it's going to have all these details on it. And then some of them, because it's in a data asset, need to change, like the patrol points. What patrol point they're assigned to is going to completely change depending where they are in the world. So that is going to stay on the NPC so it can be changed. For this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my blueprints folder in my data assets, primary data assets. I'm just going to create a new data asset. So right click, blueprint class. And I'm using Unreal 5.6 here, but data assets have been around since I believe 4.9 or something. It's perfectly okay. So I'll search for primary data asset. You're okay to use a struct if you want to use a data table for something like this. Because eventually I'm going to be having multiple people working on this, I'm going to stick with data assets so more than one person can edit them at once without conflicting each other over the same data table. So I'm going to create a new primary data asset called PDA NPC, just something basic like that. And then in here, I'm going to basically add all the variables that I want to default on the NPC. And by that, I mean stuff that's not going to change or stuff that's I want to default an NPC to do. So I'm never really going to default whether an NPC has an inventory or not. So I'm not going to add whole things in to give them a component of an inventory. They'll either everyone will have an inventory, so I don't need to add that in here. So it doesn't mean that if I assign, say, the character's name, that can never change. We're going to get onto that with the autoplay dialogue, because that's an option that I am going to change in the middle of the game. So some NPCs will just harass you as soon as you walk near them. Hey, you, come here, or whatever. Whereas some other NPCs won't, and it's a good default for it. So I'm just going to pin that right there. And basically, this is going to be different for every single person's game, and that's completely okay. So basically, if you've got, like me, where you've got a bunch of random variables spread across the place, then this might be a good idea for you to keep following. So on variables, I'm just going to come and basically make all of these. So I'll do name. I'll set that to some text so we can translate it. Faction. And I generally don't remember what that faction is, so I'm just going to search for my NPC, and let's go and have a look what it is, because a lot of this stuff I've done a while ago. So that is, so the faction is a type of PDA, so it's a data asset. So I can just come and delete that one and paste it in, which is another way of doing it quickly if you want to. You can just paste them in. And same, I'll come and get my movement stats, and it's okay that they exist on both for now. We're going to go through and clean it up. And you'll notice that I'm putting them all here, but they've got no category. So I'm going to come and set the category here, just because it's a bit nicer. So I'll just details for this one. And this is just going to be their main details. Whereas the next ones I do, like dialogue, can be in its own dialogue section, which makes it a bit neater when we're actually editing it. For me, this will be a type of dialogue. And the important thing about this for a good performance boost is make sure that you use your soft class and soft object references where you need to. So for example, a name, a faction, and movement stats, they're really, really small, so I don't need to worry about that one. Whereas my dialogue could be absolutely huge. I'm going to make it a soft object reference, so it's not in memory until we need it to be in memory. And then same with my named dialogue variable. It's just a bunch of personal primary data assets. And then this is where we come to the first variable, my autoplay dialogue. This is something that I'll set on the character as a boolean, but we'll make it so we can change that by duplicating it. So all this is going to do is set the character's default value. That's all it's going to do. As I say, all of these on here don't mean that I can never change them. Some of them, in my game at least, like the name, the movement stats, I'm probably not going to change. Whereas the other ones, like the autoplay dialogue, the dialogue, I'm going to duplicate those variables on my NPC as private variables if you wish. Duplicate clone ones. These are only here to serve if we spawn the NPC in. The other one on the NPC is the ones we can actively modify. So I'm just going to whip through here now, and I'll do my state tree. And again, this is the default state tree. I'm just going to set mine to a basic state tree, and I'll do a soft object reference, which means I can select my state trees. Don't worry if you're using state tree AI component, it just inherits from state tree, it's just a child of it with extra functionality. So state tree means you can select both. And I'll set that into an AI category. Some of my NPCs even have their own specific variables for child ones, like these guys here. These are a special version of it, where they just have some special, very specific things to them. And that's okay, because we're merging it now. It's a nice cleanup session. The reason I wanted to talk about this is a big thing that I see from people is they sit planning their game longer than actually jumping in and getting on with it. Games design is never going to be something where you can plan it 100% and it works 100% of what you've planned. It just won't. It's too difficult to do. Maybe if you spent 50, 60 years planning your advanced game and then finally jumped into it, you've wasted most of your time trying to actually do it rather than just getting on with it. And it's never going to be any easier if you don't know Unreal in the first place. Meaning you'll also be competing, trying to get all your knowledge together in order to do it, as well as trying to compete against Unreal releasing new technology and learning Unreal. It's too much for anybody to do. Sometimes it is better to research and try to find a good way of doing it. For example, primary data assets versus data tables. Do a little bit of research, figure out what works for you. If you're only ever going to be working on your game alone, a data table might work for you. Or if you've got some type of mass spawning thing, loading one data table is probably more efficient than looping over an array of primary data assets. I don't know. It entirely depends on your game and what you're trying to do. So the reason I'm getting into this, don't put off making your game just because you haven't perfectly planned it. Jump straight in. If you end up having to rewrite something, that's completely okay. It means you've learned what you need to do. And it is okay to make mistakes. Some mistakes are tiny, like my little one here. It feels like it's massive because I've got to go through and edit every NPC. Realistically, it's quite a small one. It's only going to take me an hour or two, and then I've fixed it, and then it's done going forward. Some mistakes will categorically make you want to rewrite half your game, and that is an issue, but you will know better going forwards. That's the other issue. But you'll now know this going forwards. Do you think every AAA developer who's worked on the biggest, baddest games out there, Need for Speed Most Wanted, the good one from 2005, to San Andreas, to GTA 5, GTA 6, you think every developer doesn't look back after a few months and go, why did I do it that way? That's horrible. No, of course they're going to look at it and think of a better, new way of doing it. And they're not going to like their old code. Everybody's always learning. And that's the important thing, is you want to keep learning. Because if you don't learn, you're going to be stuck in a cycle and you're never really going to get anything done. You're never going to explore new avenues. It's primarily why I like doing game jams. If you're not aware, a game jam is something where you go and make a game in a set time frame with a theme. So here's all the games I've made. I never made any games before this one here. Never at all. And that was 2021. I've been doing games design for nearly 15 years. Never released a game because I always just kept wanting to perfectly plan everything. And as you can see, yeah, I've got a presence on YouTube. Been doing YouTube for like loads of years. That was my first game because I finally just gave up and went, hold on, let's just make a game. The code in this is awful. And that was in Unity where I was really good. It was awful. And then equally, all these were in Unity until I got to my first Unreal one. I streamed making this. I bet half the people who watched it were screaming, going, why are you doing that? That's a silly way of doing it. And yeah, it was. But I jumped into it and I made a game. And that's the cool thing. I speak to a lot of devs in even websites and games and everything who have never done it because they're always trying to find the better way. They're always trying to research and find the best way to do everything. It doesn't exist. Not one perfect way to make your game. There'll be different ways that will produce the same result. And that is the key thing. And that's what a lot of people get annoyed about with Unreal. But in reality, it's everything. Unreal's got nothing to do with it. It is generally everything. There are so many things, even in life, of different ways you can achieve the exact same thing. Pick one, go with it. If it doesn't work for you, you now know about that avenue, which is perfect. When I started Unreal, I used to do everything in event tick. I'm sure most people did. And in Unity, event tick or whatever it was in Unity, doesn't mean it was wrong. There's better ways. Like the soft object references we used here. Loads of people don't use soft object references. It doesn't mean they never make a game. They've got a little performance hit they have to fix afterwards. It's why you see all the videos on the Unreal's YouTube channel about cleaning up performance afterwards, or tech debt, where you've done something, you're in a rush, you're in a crunch, you had to achieve the end of your sprint goals to meet your deadlines. Doesn't mean you're perfect, and perfect never exists. It really doesn't. The perfect is what works for you and your game. So there was a well-known thing I saw ages ago on Unreal's YouTube channel, talking about why you should use the templates that are built into Unreal. And you should. They're really good. I did. Everybody does. But it was the Ark survival game. The actual name of the project when you loaded it up was, I think, first-person shooter or first-person template or something. And it's the one that actually comes with Unreal. The developers just loaded it up and started building a game. They might not have planned to do it. I don't know the full story behind it. But they made a game using the template. They didn't even rename it. I think they did after Unreal pointed it out, or if it's still like it, I'm not sure. But the point is, they just cracked on with it. They might have remade it a few times to learn, I don't know. They did crack on with it. That's the key thing. If you've got a limitation in your area and you don't know where to go, say you're not great at art, buy the art. Like I do. I'm not an artist, so I buy the artwork from Cinti. And I love it. It's really, really good. They release new packs all the time. If you're not an animator, buy the animation. Sound, buy it. Or make it. There's loads of free ones online. You don't have to spend money to do it. So now I've set my PDA up here. All my stats are there. So what I can do is I can come and find an NPC. Let's say this guy here. Look, what's his name? His name is blank. Well, it's not. He has actually got a name. He's the port shopkeeper. Not original, but it'll do for now because it's one of the oldest NPCs I've got in the game. So I'm going to come to my data assets, not primary data assets, and I'll create a new folder called NPCs. And inside here, I'm just going to create a new miscellaneous primary data asset. And if you're doing a data table, just create a single data table. Data asset. Oh, there's two now. And I'll search for my PDA NPC. And I'll say I've got a new NPC port shopkeeper. There we go. I'll open him up. You can see I've got all his stats here. Now this is decent, but we can make it a bit better. Let's add some default values, stuff that we know the majority are probably going to have. So the faction, unaffiliated, yeah, that's a good faction. Movement stats, normal NPC, yeah, that'll do. Because these are just something we've set up for the racing series, and all it does is handle their stats. We could have 3 separate variables for them inside here, sure. Most of my normal NPCs are probably going to walk the same speed, so why duplicate them all if I can just reference that once? Makes it a little bit easier. Autoplay dialogue I'm probably going to keep unchecked. Same with named dialogue. State tree, however, I'm just going to put a random roam on, just like that. Make them randomly roam around by default. Everyone's going to be unarmed by default as well. The jail amounts I'm actually going to turn off by default because not everybody is going to be a jail guard. That's only for jailing people. Patrol animations, turn them off. Not everybody's going to be patrolling. And then everything else, see, I'm not even going to do a friendly name. I'm going to get rid of that one. I'm just going to use their name instead, just to save a little bit. Weight capacity, I'll default to something like 50, so everybody is the same. Currency, I'll give everybody 10 by default. And is a vendor, false. And you see this time, we've got a few more stats preset for us. So we can come in, port shopkeeper. Dialogue, I do believe he does have some dialogue. So I'll grab this one, and I'll just come over and just add it in, like that. Named dialogue, I don't believe he has any. Let's have a look. So I'll just go back and search for named dialogue. No, it's not even on his character at all, really. Autoplay dialogue, no, I don't want to autoplay it. State tree is random roam. All that's the same. Default loot table, we should probably give him one of them because he is a trader. So I will come to find his inventory, which he doesn't have. He doesn't even have an inventory, great. See, all these little bugs I'm finding already. So for now, I don't think I've got an inventory to give him, so we'll just leave that empty for now. And I will tick him as a vendor though, and it's something I'll come back and set later. So this is fantastic. We've got all the details we need in one simple area. And it'll change per NPC and that. So back on my main NPC that I want to use, which is my BP NPC, because I'm slowly moving away from ALS now. I'm going to use Unreal's new GASP system. But I can collapse all of this and I can come and add my NPC data asset. And I can come and assign it to my PDA NPC. And I can even make it a soft object reference if I really want to make it just that more performant look. And I'll make it instance editable. And I'll add this to a category, details, on its own, isolated from the others. I'll hit compile and save. And what I can do is for all the ones that I know I'm removing, like the name, I can come and open up the advanced and click deprecated. And what this basically means is it will tell anybody using it, hey, this is going to be removed soon. Don't use it. And it just means that I don't need to go through and update everything right now. Because this is going to be used in a lot of places, probably. A lot of these are. But just ticking deprecated on the ones that I've moved across just gives me that little bit of assurance that when I search for it, it will tell me whether or not I've missed it. So you can see right there, I've got a warning. Hey, this is deprecated. You need to remove it. Like if I hit compile again, it'll accept it. It will. It does compile. It's just giving me warnings that I've missed stuff. So I'm going to come and create a new event graph called load NPC data. And I'll create a new event inside here. Load data. Something basic like that. You call it whatever you want. I've moved it into its own event graph just so it's a bit cleaner. But now what I can do is I can come and get their NPC data asset. I can async load it, be it only loaded in memory when we tell it to, and then I can come and resolve it. Now that I've done that, I've got access to all of their data in here. So I can come down all the details and I can set wherever I need to set it. So for example, the name, I want to clean that up. So I'll come and find its references. You can see I've got all the places that uses the word name, which is, not fantastic. But like on the construction script here, it sets the interactable name right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and copy this here. And I'm going to come and paste it in my new load NPC data right here. On the completed, and I want to get the name. And I can just plug it straight in. And this is all I'm going to do, just basically go through and assign all of the area. So on begin dialog, which is how I start my dialog, is set the name. I can also come in on the inventory and now set the friendly name, because if you remember, I removed it. And I'll set it to the same name property, like so. If you really want to, we can actually make this a little bit neater and set this PDA as a function. So if I select all of this, right click and do collapse to function, you might be thinking, why are we doing an event inside an event graph inside a function? So if we just call this function a moment, load data from asset, something like that. What we've basically done is we can async load this inside the event here, meaning it's not going to drop any frames trying to load it. If it does, it'll be macroscopic amounts. Whereas if we just do load asset blocking, that will block your thread from continuing, causing lag and stutters. So doing it this way, I can come and call load data. I'll make load data from asset private, so in the access modifier private, so nothing external to this blueprint can call that except that function right there, pretty much. And inside here, I will now come in and set the PDA to NPC, something I can reuse it. But it means I don't have to keep dragging it all the way down here now. So I can come across and I can just right click and do get NPC. And now I've got the loaded in memory version of it, which is very nice. And now I can come down and set all of the different variables I need to. So for example, interact dialog, I can drag down and I can do set dialog. From the NPC, I can do get dialog. And this doesn't mean I can't change this. I'm absolutely going to be able to change this. And this is something I need to update in my system, or I believe in narrative might be better updating it, is the dialog here is a hard reference. So as soon as you pass to it, it's got to be instant. So let's go and edit that, because I don't like that. I think it's going to be much better as a soft object reference, and when you interact with it, then it loads it in memory. So what I'm actually going to do is add another one, another variable called dialog soft. And it'll be the exact same thing, a dialog class, but it will be a soft class reference. And then instead of this dialog variable over here, and instead of it being a party component, just before we call begin dialog, I'm going to check, have we got a valid soft object reference? If we do, then I'm just going to come and tell it to async load it, so it loads it into memory, but it doesn't block us. And then from that, I can now call resolve, which says, hey, you've loaded it in memory, give it me. And I can copy this down here, and then I can assign this up here to the completed and put the correct class into dialog like that. However, equally, if I don't have a soft object reference, it means it's one of my old ones, then I can use the dialog like so, and just make sure my target's. So for anyone using narrative, there's a little fix that we're going to run, and I'll probably push for that to be added into the main one, because it's going to be a lot nicer. Will be a bit game breaking for people, but we might do it this way and just make that deprecated. So if I tick deprecated, hit compile, it's going to error there because it is deprecated, which is fine, because it'll still let us compile and save for now until I get around to removing it. But it now means back on my NPC, instead of set dialog, I can just do set dialog soft, my new variable, and I can just pass it straight in like that, which is a lot nicer, a lot more performant as well. It's not going to take up memory unless we actually need it to. For the state tree, I'm just going to come and get my AI controller, and the controlled actor will be self, because that's what it is, my character. And unfortunately, you can only do this in Unreal 5.6 because they've blocked it off in earlier versions if you're using state trees. If you're using behavior trees, you can just use that instead. But I'm going to do get component by class and get my state tree. And remember, the state tree AI component just inherits from the component, so we can use the standard one. And the first thing I'm going to do is just stop the logic of the whichever one's running. And I'll give it a reason of assigning new state tree. And then I can get it and just do set state tree. Unfortunately, there is a bug in Unreal 5.6 at the moment where if you don't have an existing state tree running, it will indeed crash, and that's not great. So you'll see this wants a hard reference to the state tree because they're going to be running it straight away. But from our NPC, we don't have a hard reference. We have a soft reference, at least on my state tree and maybe your behavior tree or whatever you're going to use. See, we've got a soft reference. So we can't load this inside a function because it'll be blocking. We could load it in our event here and pass it into it. That's another way we can do it. Or what I think I'm going to do on mine is just make the AI controller take care of it. I'm going to come and find my AI controllers. And I've got one main one here, BPAI NPC. You can see I've got a bunch of stuff here. But more importantly, I've got an interface called BPI AI controller. I'm just going to load this up. And it's just got two simple ones of start and stop logic. But in here, the function, I just do set soft state tree. And I will input it a state tree. And of course, if you're using utility AI, you could probably give it a brain component or some class that state trees and behavior trees share. I'm primarily using state trees on mine, so I'm just going to set it to a state tree for now. And I'll do a soft class reference, compile and save. Back on my AI, I can now implement my set soft state tree, and then I will instantly async load it. Then I will resolve it. You have to do the resolve and the async. The async says, hey, load it in memory. The resolve says, give it me. But because we do the resolve after it, it doesn't really matter. And by after, I don't mean you're literally putting it after. I mean we're using it on completed, so it does it after. Then I can get my state tree, and I can do stop. And the reason was new state tree. There is a minor thing that can happen where it will every so often just not update because that one is still finishing. And I've checked the C++ to confirm stop logic doesn't immediately stop it. And equally, if I get the state tree and do set state tree, this doesn't assign a new one if it's, it says there, the state tree won't be set if logic is running. So we need to stop the current logic. We're going to wait a single frame just to make sure it's definitely stopped it. And then we will assign the new state tree. And the new state tree is going to be our state tree here. But you can see I've done this a bit backwards. It wants a state tree object, not a class. So we could construct it, but I'm just going to go back through and correct it. So I'll set this to a soft object reference. Apply and save. The reason I'm doing all of this is just to highlight that I've made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But we're learning from it. So the next time I use a state tree, now let's face it, I'm probably going to forget that I've done this. But the bigger things you will probably be okay with. So you can see resolve straight into there, delay for 1 frame. But now, back on my BP NPC, I can delete this off. I don't even need that one anymore, or this one. I can just get the AI controller and do set soft state tree. Oh, and you see, I did do it right originally. I've put an object here. See, I'm half thinking it correctly. We can even come in and wrap this in some nice comments. So AI logic, what's this one? This is, we'll wrap that all in dialogue. Dialogue, and there we go. So that is much cleaner already. We'll go back to our event graph. On event begin play, I'll just get the load data and plug it in. So the first thing it does when this NPC spawns is load the data. But on load data, what I'm actually going to do is they might not have an NPC data asset. I'm going to right click it and do convert to validator get. Just to make sure we don't get any errors with it trying to load something into memory that we've not assigned yet. That means that everything on my NPC is still completely okay. It's not going to break if they've not been assigned one. So like this guy here, what's his name? He hasn't got a name. He clearly does have a name because I'm pretty sure you can talk to him. But if I come and get an NPC here now, so my cleaner NPC, drop him there, look. There we go, got a lady one, look. So I can come in and I can assign her a new details asset. So I just come and search for NPC data asset. There we go. We'll assign her to the NPC port shopkeeper thing. If I come to the interact begin dialog, so you can see it's correctly assigned their text. If I come to the inventory, which is there, the friendly name's not there, but it will have been assigned in the background. It's just not visible here. And we can basically build it up exactly like that. Because we've marked it as deprecated and we've not really removed it, it means nothing's broken. We're just slowly patching it up together. So I can work through doing all of this, which is simply getting the variable, assigning it to the correct place. That's fine. However, the one I am going to look at whilst we're here is the ones that need to be duplicated. And that is the ones that we want to assign a default value to, but it very well can change for story reasons, for example. Such as the dialogue here. This dialogue is technically duplicated on the interaction here. At any moment, outside of this, I can come and set that to something else, which is exactly what I want to do. The same with autoplay dialogue here. You'll notice I've not marked it as deprecated because we need that. So I'm going to drag this into details, but I want to keep it combined with this NPC because it's their private details if you wish. So I'm actually going to come and set a category with a pipe on it and type dialogue. And you'll notice it's made it as a subcategory now, which is very nice. So I can come here, get the NPC, get autoplay. Now I can come and set the autoplay dialogue like that and connect it back up over here. Using my comment plugin, I can even come and wrap it in the comment log. And by default, that will now set that NPC's auto begin dialogue. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with me coming in, finding it. In the dialogue, I can come and tick it if I need to, or untick it. Doesn't matter. Unreal will keep it unless you load the game. But that's something we'll get into when we look at a better advanced saving and loading system. That's pretty much the video, really. Like I say, it's a bit different. I've now got a pathway to create much cleaner NPCs. I've got a way of creating NPCs and assigning their data assets. Outside of the video, I'm going to go through and manually assign all of the variables. And then when I come to the end of a variable that I no longer need anymore, so let's take a look at this one. I've set the name there. I've set the name there for the new one. Set the new name there. I don't actually need this variable anymore. So I know that I no longer need that variable anymore. So I could technically delete it. However, a lot of my NPCs somewhere in the Elven realm apparently have actual names. So I don't want to remove it from them. I'll do that once I'm confident I've gone through all my NPCs and set it. But doing this basically gives us one really nice way of recalling almost that NPC with that one file. We can come in, edit that NPC. No matter where they are in the world, that will create the NPC. So for this named NPC, I very well might come and add the mesh and the material to create this NPC. So I'll just come in and just do mesh. And I'll set it to a skeletal mesh. And I'll set it to a soft object reference, because of course it doesn't need to be in memory all the time, because once we've set it once, that's it. I'll grab the port shopkeeper's mesh, so the commoner male, and I'll just come and assign it into his NPC state data there, like so. I can do the same way as material. And of course, make the materials an array if you have multiple of them. Soft object reference again. I'll make them both instance editable. I don't think you need to, but it's fine. I'll grab his material and I will come and assign it to him here. It's set to the default category. We've kept it clean. Let's do it clean again. So we'll come and call it visual. Sign it up there. You can even go as far as doing animation blueprint if he has a specific one. I think all of mine have the same one, but it's a very generic one. Back on our NPC. We, of course, can't load it from there, so we need to create an event so we can async load it. So back on our load data, load NPC data, I'll just add a custom event called load visuals. I will pass it 2 inputs of the mesh, and I'll set it to a skeletal mesh, and that'll be a type of object reference, and I'll do the same for a material. And of course, don't forget, you can also do attachments. You can really do anything you want. This is what I'm saying, it's specific to your game. I can async load the mesh and I can async load the materials. You can really do back to back if you want. which I'm probably going to do. You can maybe even do them at the same time to make them load synchronously, but I kind of really need them both to be loaded at the same time. So if I make it load that, load that, it's probably going to be a bit easier. Resolve the mesh, and I can resolve the material, and then I can take my character's mesh, and I can do set skeletal mesh asset, and it wants that one. So I can plug it in, and then I can also grab it and do set material, and because mine just has one material, it's assigned like that. Yes, one material. Compile and save. And then back on my load data from asset, right at the end after AI logic, let's get the NPC, we'll get the mesh, and I'll get the material, and then I'll just come and call load visuals. And this is not an advanced one. If you've got metahumans, you are going to have to put a little bit more work into it to load the grooms and everything. I don't need any of that for my game. It's just a nice clean one like that. And in theory, when I start the game this time, she should have the correct mesh. It should work from the construction script. I'm not 100% sure why it's not, until you hit compile on the game. But you can see, there you go. I'll have to do his hair and stuff like that, but we've got the port shopkeeper. Exactly how we need him to be. Which is very nice. And I can't talk to him yet because I've not set something up. But nice, neat way of keeping this named NPC. We could always add some special logic in to say if there's no mesh assigned, randomly pick one. We've already covered that in our NPC spawning series. But there we go. So that is pretty much the weird video. It was something that I needed to do that I know people following will like the idea of. So that's all good. And the discussion we've had about just getting on with the game. It doesn't matter if you're going to do it right or not. As long as it works for you, that's great. It works. At least you're carrying on. If you come back later and find out you've done wrong, just learn from it. That's the important thing. Don't be one of the developers who get really defensive if somebody corrects you and shows you a better way. Everybody learns. There is good ways and bad ways of giving constructive criticism. That is my decryption talk special whilst I had work to do. It is now nearly midnight. I've done this little bit of task. I'll probably carry on and then I'm going to go to bed. So thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this was a little informative. I hope you learned something. Very basic as it is, but this gives us a very clean way of carrying on with the game. If all your NPCs are randomized and don't contain any main data, you won't even need this. But the point stands, just crack on. Don't let getting perfection stop you from doing anything, because you'll never get it done. Just crack on. If you do it wrong, do it right the next time, because at least you know what you're doing now. It's the best way to learn is by making mistakes. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Decryption, and I'll see you next time.